welcome to We're So Bloody Early. My name is Jake. I'm 33 years old. I'm a husband and a recent dad. This show is going to be a focus on Bitcoin and how our journeys to this amazing new asset class has affected our lives. I personally have been lucky to work as a broker through my life, an investor, and a couple of failed startups behind me. I'm very excited to start this new project. And these are my two great co-hosts, Matty and Jigs.
Hi guys, I'm Matt. I'm a 35-year-old father and husband, massive lover of sport. I'm an aerospace engineer come entrepreneur. I've been running my own engineering consultancy now for 5 years. I have a diverse range of skills across multiple industry sectors, and that's now led me to my new love, Bitcoin.
And I'm Jigs, 41 years of age, husband, father of three. Worked in the cash and transit industry for 20 years in a labor-intensive job. Recently retired for about a year now. I'm a stay-home dad and a hybrid trader.
Together we're the co-hosts of the We're So Bloody Early show. In the future, you'll expect to hear from some special guests that we get along to talk through their experiences. Hopefully we'll be creating some educational content that brings our friends and family along on this journey as well. And we hope you enjoy. Always reach out if you have any questions whatsoever. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to the We're So Bloody Early podcast. We're very excited today to have our very first guest join the show. We have Mr. Steve Courtney with us. Hi, Steve.
Great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming along. So today's conversation, we're just going to have a chat about your background, Steve, and what you bring to the space. And I know that Jigs has seen a huge amount of your work and has taken huge influence from it. So just to kick things off, Jigsy, do you have a question for Steve? And yeah, dive on in.
Just share with our audience your background, your history of your younger years and what led you to what inspired you to teach other people? Because I know that you weren't always wanting to be a teacher.
Yeah, I think my journey started when I was pretty young. I had a fascination with money, maybe when I was like 6 or 7. And I really wanted to make my own money. And I did everything I could to make my own money. I started by bringing bottles back to the store. Back then you can get 5 cents per bottle. And then I started delivering papers and raking yards, shoveling snow, basically anything that could earn me some money. And I always understood that, hey, my family had it a little bit different than some other kids in the neighborhood, had it very different than other kids that I went to school with. And I knew that I needed to make my own money so that I could somehow take care of my family. So that was always my mindset, even as a young kid. And that led me down my later years into, 12, 13, 14, getting like traditional jobs on the books while keeping my side hustles. And then I had like a business in school selling candy. So I was just hustling, right? And I had this money and I started to study successful people, and they did other stuff with their money. They didn't just keep cash. So I was like, okay, if these wealthy people are doing this, I need to somehow figure out how to do it. So I went to my family and I was like, hey, I want to invest some money. I was 15 or 16 at the time. And they were like, what does that mean? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, okay, I'm not talking to the right people. So then I asked like my family's friends, like other adults. And they're like, yeah, well, I don't even know where to start. So I'm like, okay. And I finally tracked down a person and I got hooked up, I wanted to multiply my money, right? I read about these people that did this and I looked at life like as a game. These people beat the game. How do I learn from them? What can I do that they're doing? Because I need to beat the game so I can take care of my parents, right? So that led me into the investing game. And I guess luckily and unluckily, I made pretty much every mistake in the book. I was this young kid, 15 or 16. I thought I knew what I was doing. I've been making money since 7. I could win this game. These wealthy folks beat the game. Why can't I beat the game? And my ego was just too big. My ego got in the way. I had no understanding of investing but my ego was telling me I can do it. I'm going to do it. So I just keep making mistake after mistake after mistake and getting beat over the head and kicked in the shorts. And it was brutal. But my ego kept telling me, oh, the next trade, I'm going to do it this other way and it's going to be successful. I'm going to look for a different chart pattern. I'm going to do this and everything's going to be fine. And I just kept getting beat over the head. And I was living through the .com bubble. That happened when I was 15, 16 years old. So there was a lot of things going on, but I'm so happy that it happened because I had to keep changing what I was doing. And then I had to look myself in the mirror and be like, it's not all these different things I'm trying. It's me. I have too much greed. I don't know how to control my emotions when I get into a trade and it goes up. I don't know how to control my emotions when I get in a trade and it goes down. So I was like, I'm really terrible at controlling my emotions. And I have my head knee deep in the news every day, which is another thing I really preach. So the news was getting to me, my ego was getting to me, and my greed was getting to me. But I stayed with the game and I kept trying different things. I invested through high school, I invested through college, and I always had the entrepreneurial mind. And luckily, I tried a lot of different things in my life, and one of which teaching was something that I did in a lot of different avenues. And when crypto came along, obviously I gravitated towards it because, it's investing. I really love investing, especially in my later years. But I was really fascinated I thought that everyone jumping and flocking into crypto also came from the world of my world, investing. And they've been an investor for over 10 years. And then when I got in, I was like, wait a minute, everybody is super new. Nobody knows how to invest. And I said, oh my goodness, they're going to get destroyed like I did. They're going to have their ego getting in the way. They're going to have their greed getting in the way. And they're not going to be able to control the emotion when price goes up or down. And I was like, I have to help people. My mission in life was always to help people. And I knew at that moment that was my calling.
And so how did you get into charting though? Like, where did that start?
From charting? Oh, back when I was 16, I printed out all the charts and I had all the hard copies. And I really thought I knew what I was doing. I would draw the patterns, I would follow. And this is before I had a computer. But yeah, charting from very beginning. I loved it.
Interesting.
I've got so many questions. If I could jump in, Jigsy.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Just to take it right back then, Steve. So you're a teenager, you've understood, crap, okay, I want to try and learn how to make money with my money or make my money work for me. And you said you made every mistake in the book. Can you remember, say, 2 or 3, amusing examples or specific moments where you're like, oh, I've got that really, really wrong?
I went against somebody with a lot of knowledge, somebody that had been in the game for a long, long time. And they were like, you need to do this. And I was like, you're crazy. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this and I'm going to be right. And I'm going to prove him wrong. And it was when the market was tanking and he had experience with it. That was my first time. So my ego and greed, it got in the way and he was right. I was wrong.
Wow. And so, I was going to say, you've almost answered already. Those 2 or 3 examples or mistakes that you made, what was it that you learned from it as a result of doing that? And I personally, I love the phrase, make mistakes your friends. Like it's something that you should embrace in life. And even though you get scared of doing things sometimes, unless you jump down that path and follow your instinct or decide to make a decision like that, you don't necessarily make the mistake, in which case you don't then have the option to grow from it. Perhaps you've kind of already answered that, but so you realized from that controlling emotion was key, or that focusing on some experienced people to learn from was more important? What was it that you drew out of that specifically?
I think it's the latter even more. Like, control your emotions, okay, but that you should learn from somebody who's learned how to control their emotions, right? Otherwise, you're never going to learn, right? When I jumped in, I should have hit the pause button and said, okay, let me go learn from somebody that's already made all these mistakes so that I can skip ahead. But my ego was too big. I was convinced that I could do it on my own. And I was convinced that the next trade or the next trade or the next strategy or the next technique was going to be the thing. And that was the key. And I think that that's probably why I'm in this position today, doing what I do. Is luckily I did make all those mistakes, and now I'm really focused on helping other people not make all those mistakes. So I could have skipped it all and just learned from the beginning, but I didn't even know where to go to learn. But I should have done that.
Interesting that you say you had to pause and take a step back, because that's what happened to me in the beginning. Is I came in with like 10 grand and tried to beat the system and think I was doing it my way. And I whittled it all down until I had just enough when I came across you, and I went, okay, let's do it properly. I mean, I'd been backdating all your strategies and your teachings. And then what I did was I took that last bit of money that I had for investing and I invested in myself or in your courses. And that was the switch. That's what flicked everything. That was incredible, because it taught me how to, I'm a very emotional guy. Firstly, I'd like to just say thank you for teaching me how to fish. I've got this picture on my wall here of a kingfisher sitting on a Bitcoin. And I always look at that every morning when I'm having breakfast and I think you're the kingfisher. You've taught me how to fish. So that was what helped me flick the switch and learn to control emotions through your strategies, which were just epic.
I appreciate that.
Could you perhaps maybe, a lot of Bitcoin maxis always say things like, just buy Bitcoin, don't worry about alts, just hodl, what I've learned from you and what I try and explain to maxis is how important it is that you don't have to risk all your Bitcoin, but you can risk a small percentage and outperform Bitcoin with, say, Ethereum. Could you explain that without giving away your strategies and why it's important to do it like that way?
Yeah, I think there's a few different mindsets, right? There's people that they want to trade, multiple times a week, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's people that want to trade, they want to make a couple of good decisions a month. And then there's some folks that want to make a couple good decisions a quarter. And then there's folks that want to make a couple good decisions a year. And some people believe that not all of those things are possible, and they are. But it comes down to your mindset. If you're someone that wants to short-term trade, there's a strategy for that, right? In our courses, we teach that. We don't recommend it if you're starting out because it'll be a train wreck. But something simple is like you mentioned with Ethereum. If you want to make a couple good decisions per year and you just want to focus on Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's definitely possible. So basically, the money that's in crypto, a lot of the times, the majority of the money is in Bitcoin. Once altcoins start rallying, there's these simple cycles that it goes through, 3 or 6 months, where basically the simple way to understand it is money comes out of Bitcoin and moves into Ethereum. And then Ethereum grows at a faster clip than Bitcoin over that cycle. And then the cycle moves back. So the money goes from Ethereum back into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin moves at a faster clip than Ethereum. That's the most simple way to understand it. If somebody just wants to buy and hold, they can do that. If they want to make a couple good decisions a year using Ethereum to grow their Bitcoin, it's really easy. It's look for the signs, look for the cycle, and move your money from Bitcoin into Ethereum and kind of ride that wave for a period of time. And then you can move it back into Bitcoin, and then you've grown your Bitcoin portfolio by a wide margin, just by making a couple of good decisions a year. So in simple way, you have to have a strategy. It all comes down to a strategy. And back to what I did poorly in the beginning was I changed my strategy as often as I was changing my boxers. It was like, okay, this day I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to try this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to look at the news, and it was so many, right? You want to have one simple strategy. You want to document every time you do something well or poorly, and then you want to stick to that strategy, whether it's cloudy, it's raining, it's sunshine, whatever day of the week, however you're feeling emotionally, and stick to it, right? So what I like to do is I try to use Ethereum to grow Bitcoin. And then I try to use some certain altcoins to grow Ethereum. So in simple ways, it all comes down to what kind of trader do you want to be. There's definitely a strategy to do that. And you should hone in on mastering it. Instead of trying to be good at 5 different things, try to master one thing.
I think the important thing there is also the strategy has to really remove the emotion. Like that's what I found. If you want to hang your hat on a mistake, well, you hang it on the strategy. You don't hang it on, chasing a pump or something like that. So I think that's really important. What I've learned from you. My wife refers to me as the serial killer of investing, because I just have no emotion. Like she's texting me today saying, Bitcoin's up, Ethereum's up, it's all-time highs. And I'm going, big deal.
That's good. I love it.
Yeah, it's an amazing moment, isn't it? Steve, I was just wondering myself, I don't, obviously Jigs has done a lot more work down the rabbit hole with yourself, but in terms of your realization of Bitcoin as an innovation and the crypto space, perhaps you could talk a little bit about how confident you are about it as the future of finance, perhaps, or what your opinions might be on it. Personally speaking, I found that it was really only very recently that I understood the importance of Bitcoin. That's having held it for 5 years or so, since 2015, and made a bit of money and sold a bit and made a bit of money and sold a bit and wish I hadn't sold it. And, everyone's got these kind of regrets in a sense, but 5, 6 years later, it's still there, and it's now at $60,000, $70,000 a coin. You're like, what the hell's going on here? And you've heard, 12 months ago, corporate America getting involved with MicroStrategy, and there's all sorts of big moments that have happened in the last 12 months. El Salvador and the adoption of a government, like, wow, where's this technology going? Could you speak a bit to the early days of when you first came across into crypto, and how did you discover it initially? And then equally, how did you know from a risk management perspective, or from a kind of more of a long-term investor viewpoint, like, how do you know this isn't just a massive scam? What research can you do when you're looking at, investing in Bitcoin initially, or then other altcoins alongside that?
Okay, that's a loaded question, but
well, it's a long one as well. Sorry, but
let me break it down into 2 simple things, and this will help people whether you've been in Bitcoin for 5, 6, 7 years, or you're just hearing about it for the first time today. 2 simple things, right? If you look at planet Earth over the past 10 years and you ask yourself, where could I have put my money in the past 10 years? Maybe invest in Apple or Amazon, silver, gold, Forex. You can invest in like anything on planet Earth. What would have done the best? And by a mile, it's Bitcoin. So you say, okay, over the past 10 years, very interesting. Maybe this is a fad. Maybe in the next 10 years, it won't be true. But now let's look at adoption. On planet Earth, what has had the quickest adoption in human history? Do you guys have any ideas?
Please answer the question.
We would say the internet, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say mobile, but yeah. Okay.
What have we adopted to in a wide margin the fastest? It's the internet. But Bitcoin is just peeking its head past the internet. If you compare the first 10 years of the internet to the first 10 years of Bitcoin, it's neck and neck. So then you can take a few steps back and say, okay, on planet Earth, would I have invested in the internet in its early days? Probably not, because you would have thought the internet is too complex. You don't know what it's doing. You know that it's for email. But now, in retrospect, would you have invested in the internet in the early days? Hell yeah. Would the internet have grown into what it is today? You have no idea. But now looking back, you're like, oh, I would have definitely. So if you take a couple of steps back, you look at planet Earth, Bitcoin is growing just as fast as the internet did, and nothing's even close. Those are the 2 fastest things in human history. So then it becomes very clear, okay, Bitcoin is not going anywhere. It's adapting as fast as the internet did. And also people look at Bitcoin as, okay, why can't I use this Bitcoin thing to go buy a pizza and buy a sandwich and buy a car. You can, but that's not really the purpose. Bitcoin is the brand. It's the brand recognition. But what blockchain is going to do, it's going to touch every single industry on planet Earth 10 years from now. Right now, your whole life is on the internet. After this, during this video, you're on the internet. After this video, you're also using the internet. Later tonight, you're going to be on the internet. But in 10 years from now, you're going to be on the blockchain. And I think that's where the world is going. And it's very clear if you just look at those two facts. It's the fastest growing thing we've ever had on planet Earth, and it's made the most money in the past 10 years. That's a pretty big picture trend.
That's an awesome summary, isn't it? Wow.
And Ethereum is growing just as quick as, or adoption as quick as Bitcoin, isn't it? Is that why it's your baby?
Ethereum, think about it this way. The smartest people in the world, where are they right now? Are they working for Tesla? Are they working for SpaceX? Are they working for Amazon? The smartest people in the world, all of them are working on Ethereum. They're building on Ethereum. They've been building on Ethereum for years. So think about where Ethereum is going, right? Bitcoin is like one-dimensional. Bitcoin is like, hey, you know, it's kind of like the new age gold, right? But Ethereum is kind of like the app store, right? Would you have invested in the app store 7 years ago, knowing that basically everything you do, there's all sorts of, hey, there's an app for that. Hey, there's an app for that. Okay, that's Ethereum. Ethereum is going to touch a lot more because it's got the smartest people in the world working on it, and the sky's the limit.
It's such an interesting space, isn't it? And you do hear multiple different angles and opinions, and it's a good segue, I guess, to just, you know, say to anyone that's listening out there that make sure you do your own research and follow people that you trust in the space. And there's plenty of people trying to persuade you to believe them, and so it takes a long time actually to get your head around what you think is going on. And no, thank you for sharing your views. Thank you, Steve, a lot. So we've covered, like, you know, through the teenage years into now. So perhaps we can talk a bit more about what you do today. I know Jigs has briefly touched on it, but so you have a crypto investment teaching business. Could you talk to us a little bit about what that involves and how people can, you know, enjoy those classes?
Yeah, our courses are for people that it could be their first day in crypto, and they're like, I don't know how to open a chart. I don't know how to make the chart look like the video I'm watching. So we start from that level, and then we take people through that whole transformation of, okay, let's learn these fundamental skills. Let's build on these skills. Let's create a strategy. Why do you need a strategy? How to structure your strategy to best suit you. So we give this framework where people can come into our courses and take their personality and put it inside our framework, and then they come out of it with a distinct strategy, specific rules that they can't buy or sell anything unless they follow these distinct rules. So they come in as a beginner and we spit them out as a pro. And basically we're just giving people the building blocks so that they can take it and run with it, right? We're trying to pay it forward, right? I came in, I got destroyed. I want to help people not get destroyed. So we have a website, cryptocrewuniversity.com. You can check it out if you want. But that's where our courses are. And we just launched indicators, and that's for people that want kind of a done for you system. They're like, hey, I don't want to go study. I don't want to do homework. I don't want to take these courses. Tell me what to do. I don't want to learn how to fish. I just want somebody to tell me when to fish.
Oh, so no, it's so important to learn to fish. Yeah, I when I came in, I was a terrible learner, and I was terrible at school as well and retaining information. But what I used to do is I used to drive to work in the morning. I used to listen to your courses while I was driving to work. I couldn't see what you were doing, obviously, because I'm driving. But then I'd get home that night and rewatch it and listen to it, and then, you know, connect the dots. And wow, and that's where you were so accommodating. When I realized I'd only bought the beginner and the intermediates, that I hit you up and said, listen, I think I've made a mistake. I need to do the advanced and the pro. And the pro courses were the absolute game changer. Absolute game changer. And so thank you very much for taking the time and helping me out, growing my tools.
No,
Steve,
I appreciate that.
Can I quickly ask and jump in? As Jigs has been undoubtedly, you know, his life has changed because of taking your courses. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about some of the feedback you do get from having become a teacher, and you know, what are some of the success stories as a result of going through your courses?
Wow, this is what gets me juiced up. There's so many. I mean, just recently we had a student go back, pay off his parents' home, buy them a car. And the things that mean most to me are like when we get emails and they're like, Steve, I came to you when me and my family were literally in trouble. And now we've set aside all these savings. I'm a millionaire. I'm doing this and this. I want to start a business. You've inspired this. And my wife wants to give you a kiss on the cheek. Like, she cannot stop, because before your courses, I couldn't sleep at night. I was stressed out. I didn't know how I was going to make it with my family. And now I can sleep like a baby at night. I have a strategy. I've made all the success. It's really incredible. We've minted a lot of millionaires, a lot. And nothing gives me more joy than that. You know, that's awesome.
It certainly is. And the process of, well, I've found this to date in my life, to be honest. I've farmed out the responsibility of my financial management to someone else, generally a financial advisor who's been paid 1% per year, regardless of performance, who strings you along with a whole lot of reasons as to why things do or don't happen. And yeah, I'm just at the start of this journey to really, you know, tool up myself and learn a lot more about how to do it on my own. So I look forward to getting into that. I'll be in touch. But to understand that you're having real impact in people's lives, and that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast. Personally, I've really fallen down the Bitcoin maxi hole and really love it as a concept to, you know, a building block, as you say, a use of gold perhaps to disrupt central banking and actually enable a financial wealth be built on top of it. And you're like, whoa, it's literally once in a lifetime opportunity to be involved in something as mega as that. So yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. Well, I'm aware that 30 minutes has flown by, Steve. Thank you so much for your time. Jigsy, any last question?
Well, our show is three dads just trying to find the importance of why it is so paramount to hold Bitcoin within your family as an investment for the future. I mean, I came in just to make gains, and then I stayed for the brains. Jake came in for the gains and stayed for the revolution. But now, you know, I used to just live week to week, whereas now I'm trying to build wealth for my kids, you know, my great grandkids. That's how far I'm thinking ahead, like so macro. I mean, my dad even now lost all his life savings in the GFC, Great Financial Crash of 2008. And I was the black sheep of the family. I'm now managing his retirement funds and growing it, which is incredible. But how important do you think it is for families to hold Bitcoin within their family?
Yeah, I think that's really important. And unfortunately, not enough families are doing it. It's still really new, right? And I think the number one thing is trust, right? If you look at, we used to buy everything with gold, right? And then we switched from gold to this paper money, and people didn't trust paper money for a very long time. It took something like 75 years for people to trust paper money. And then we went from saying, hey, trust this paper stuff, to trust a piece of plastic, right? And we made that shift from paper to plastic. It took like 37 years for people to trust this piece of plastic. What, you want me to take this plastic and pay for things? I want the paper stuff, right? Now we're in this transition from the plastic thing to digital. And people are like, whoa, I'm not ready for it. I don't trust it. It looks like a scam, could be a fraud, a pyramid scheme. It's going to take time, right?
Mm.
If it took like 75 years and then 37 years, it's going to take 15, 20 years for people to start trusting Bitcoin. But once it does, then it's going to pick up, right? But if you want to be ahead of the curve, we just talked about those two big picture things. If that really connected with you, even if you put $50 a week for your family, you're already way ahead of the curve. So whatever you can afford, start building that and don't touch it until you learn what to do with it.
Wonderful. I think that's a brilliant piece of advice for us to finish up on, Steve. So last point, is there anywhere in particular that any of our listeners out there can get in touch with you, or how would you recommend to study your work, etc.?
The easiest way is to go to our website, cryptocrewuniversity.com. You can follow us on YouTube if you want, but if you're just wanting information to learn, that's probably the best place to go.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm often referencing you guys on YouTube and putting you up in the corners.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Steve.
Yeah. Steve, thanks
Jigs.
so much for coming along and spending some time with us. We really appreciate it.
One last point.
Yeah,
I want to give a special shout out to Jigs. I think he is going to inspire so many people. That story that he has, like, look, I came in, I was struggling, and now he's completely turned it around, and his friends are looking at him like, whoa, how did this happen? He's managing his father's funds.
Well done, JC.
I've still got some doubters, but I just trug along quietly and
Up the doubters, my friend. See them later.
Yeah.
No, but everybody on my team, we know about Jigs.
Well, hurry up and have another discount sale so I can buy some more courses for some students in the wings.
It's coming soon. Black Friday is coming.
Excellent. Thanks,
Steve, so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Nice
Cheers,
one. Bye-bye.
thanks.